heroic surgery and an enormously courageous decision on the part. To be part of the audience, write Donahue tickets, care of NBC, New York, New York, 10112.
This is thru. Thru, suppose you're in the elevator and this gentleman walks in and he takes a fancy to your feathers and he invites you for a drink.
The 70s were the time when it was this
drinks with him. I mean, first of all, I think in my case, he'd be pretty stupid not to know that I wasn't a man.
You're not trying to fool.
Is that many transvestites just wear lingerie.
Tell him you want to talk about something first, or would you have a couple?
Okay. Okay. Great. Da-da-da-da-da-da. That is my intro music. We haven't had it edited in yet, but eventually we'll get there. What's up today? We are continuing our streaming, our viewing of the Donahue show. We're taking it back in time to the 80s, and we are exploring what it was like to have discussions about trans life back in the days. And perhaps today, in my head, I'm thinking about seeing how these things, specifically kind of discussing how these things connect to the way we have discussions today. I'm not sure exactly how that'll go because I have not seen this yet. And I know that this section is a lot of question and answer, so we'll kind of see what we can get. And if things don't work out, then we'll just take time to have the conversations we need to have. You know? That's pretty much it. But say hello if you're here. And let us know what your favorite letter in the alphabet is. I'm really good at starting conversations, as you can tell. Very smooth and relaxed. Like, all right. we're gonna get started. Flowing back. We just got done with a commercial break. So that's where we were last time. I will make sure to link the video in this description. I didn't do that, so you can go back and watch the first part. There was some audio issues, but I did a re-recording, so you can check that out as well. But the audio issues only last like 10 minutes as well. But just a couple of notes. Let's get started. And I do want to actually raise my volume and.
To be part of the audience, write Donahue tickets, care of NBC, New York, New York, 10112.
This is thru. Thru, suppose you're in the elevator and this gentleman walks in and he takes a fancy to your feathers and he invites you for a drink.
That's our show. What would you do?
Would you tell him you want to talk about something first, or would you have a couple of drinks and then surprise him?
He'd probably need a couple of drinks first.
Yeah.
No, I'd probably have a couple of drinks with him. I mean, first of all, I think in my case, he'd be pretty stupid not to know that I wasn't a man.
You're not trying to fool anybody.
I'm not trying to fool anybody. What I'm doing is I'm having fun.
Over here.
And this
Okay. So I think that obviously one thing that this specific episode is trying to convey is like the different like types. The different types of not trans people, but I guess gender nonconformity maybe would be the best way to put it. Let me just talk to the screen for a second. But yeah, I really think that a really big part of this is navigating what it means to be gender nonconforming and these different representations of what it looks like. I think one thing that we have done today is we've narrowed down some of these categories into, I think, a little bit smaller. I would say that drag queens, such as this initial character, we'll move back. Drag queens, such as this character, are still not really considered a part of the, you know, the T in the LGBT, really. They're more, I would say, like an artistic representation that a lot of people who happen to be in the queer community fall into. Is it Maddie Morphosis? Something like that, as a drag queen who I believe is a straight guy, or I think things like that. So I know, and like he's relatively popular. He's on RuPaul's Drag Race. So I think that it's, you know, obviously being a drag queen is very inclusive. Like you can kind of be whatever and be involved in drag. You don't really have to be part of the LGBTQ community. Obviously, it has its roots deeply in those communities. So you probably are going to want to have a massive amount of respect to those communities if you're going to partake in that. But yeah. Any other thoughts? No. But we are also we're doing a lot of, like, if you're not a passing trans woman, you know, people might not take you seriously. And I don't really know how much that has changed in, I guess, the greater community. Maybe within the queer communities, I definitely have seen it. I mean, I definitely can tell a difference between this and that, but let's continue.
This is what I like to do, but I'm not trying to make you think that I'm a woman, because you have to be pretty stupid to think that.
Yeah, briefly.
Yeah. The first case I ever heard about was Christine Jorgensen.
Right.
Now, this has been going on for years, right?
Well,
now, what happened before
it was
the
in
Christine Jorgensen case?
1939 that the first medical record in Germany of a transsexual operation. Christine Jorgensen went public and was done in 1952 in Denmark, and that's what sort of exposed the issue.
Over here.
The man in the red shirt, I'd like to know how you can do that to your children. If you were my father, I'd be ashamed of you.
Because
I like these questions are crazy. Can you guys imagine? Please imagine. What do you think it would be like? It feels really disrespectful, but at the same time, I feel they're asking these questions. Like, these are important questions. Inflicted feelings is where I'm at right now. I'm gonna try not to respond with noises, and like, I'm gonna try to use my words. Use your words, Mav. You know, I'm gonna try.
I raise my children to understand that not everybody is exactly the same. So they respect differences, and they know that I love them.
One other
Let's
thing that
go.
you might mention is that
I love that so much. People are gonna have different standards of what it means to raise respectable children. People are gonna have different definitions for what it means to be a respectable person. And if you force yourself to be in that definition of that, their definition or the other person's definition of that, you might narrow yourself a lot. Because Joanne has really discovered a way to raise, I think, kinder, more compassionate children. I think she mentioned her son has more difficulty than the daughter, but you know, at least, you know, they are aware that different types of people exist. And I think that's better than just being, I guess, raised to be more hostile and a little more bigoted. But I'm not sure. What do you think? What is a better way to raise your children? To be open, or to be more, I guess, like hesitant about accepting new things?
many transvestites just wear lingerie.
Make them understand between a man and a woman. When you're supposed to be their father.
And also, I don't know if you're helping, lady. No, I'm joking. She's doing her little thing, but. And also, guys, it's crazy. Like, and I guess I was thinking about this in between shots. And I think it was because someone left a comment, like, these labels are really, I think, utilized for maybe two reasons. For one, labels are utilized to help people communicate about their own experiences. Like, hey, I'm a drag queen. Oh, you're a drag queen. We probably share a similar experience. You know, hey, I am intersex, oh, you're intersex, we probably share some similar experiences, right? And then I think there's also this like, I don't know what that is, and that makes me uncomfortable, so I just need to other that by giving it some type of a name that kind of, I don't, and I would say maybe like, yeah, I guess just giving it a name and giving it a label. And I guess no, like understanding that that label is something negative that's kind of what I'm getting at. Um, so you can kind of clearly tell that there's this like way more clearly there are sexual overtones with the way they're talking about the transvestites versus like the transsexuals. And I would say that the idea, even for me, like because I think I was steeped in this culture of like a man wearing like you know women's underwear underneath their clothing seems very like a little scandalous. Uh, and like I said, I really think that it has a really big influence, I guess, or connection likely to things like misogyny, is what I would imagine, and kind of the degrading nature that even my psyche kind of connects that thing with. Just for, like I said, I was steeped in this type of culture. Like now, I don't really care about that stuff as much anymore. I don't think I see those, or it doesn't trigger that quickly for me as much anymore. But that's, I think, because I've like changed my surroundings and changed the types of, I don't know, people I've surrounded myself with, or just even ideas that I've surrounded myself with. But yeah.
Lingerie.
Make them understand between a man and a woman. When you're supposed to be their father and you're walking around with a dress on.
I don't dress.
Also, how are you supposed to how are you supposed to teach your kids the difference between a man and a woman if you're walking around with a dress on? And I think that honestly, it's very, very easy. Once again, if we teach kids about the difference between like gender identity, gender expression, like sex, and they understand these different things, and it makes a lot of sense to me, at least. I'm like, okay, I can like, and a small child might even be able to understand it in some ways. Like, even though this person has these parts, they may feel differently about this, like, or this person, they might not even have to know about the parts or whatever. Maybe they just understand, like, this person was born a boy, but now feels like a girl, or feels more like a girl, or feels more comfortable dressing like a girl, for example. And then, like, I don't think that that's that complicated. And just being like, there are different types of people, kids. Different types of people exist. Shocking stuff. Crazy.
It's like this all the time. I have a regular job. I go to work in a three-piece suit. I hang around the house in jeans and a t-shirt. I work on the car. I cut the lawn. I do all the things that a typical male does.
You drink like beer?
No.
No.
Scotch.
To Lynn, how do you function sexually if you say you're a gay male and you go to a gay bar? Do you surprise them once you get them home, or how do you?
Great question. Okay, wait. I want to make sure I wanted to kind of comment on this. Let me see. Okay, so definitely more of like this person seems to kind of live a life that's more like I feel not like it feels good to dress as a woman sometimes. I guessing like she doesn't dress all the time as a woman, or doesn't maybe use like female or like she her pronouns all the time. Whatever it is doesn't really matter to me. Like that's kind of where I'm at. I don't really care how you like live your life. If I'm gonna be in front of you and you're gonna ask me like, hey, this is my name and I prefer to be referred to as this, I'm probably not gonna like interview you. I guess that's where I kind of, that's what kind of some of the stuff that bugs me a little bit, and I'll talk about this for a second or two. Oops. Is this kind of like almost like having people, and I would say this is more of like the negative side of transmedicalism. I think where it starts to become like I am deciding on whether or not you have earned the pronouns that you would like, excuse me, people to use for you. And I guess that just feels shitty to me because I don't. How do you rate that? How do you rate what someone deserves? And what I would maybe more agree with is in greater society, And for me, it doesn't even seem like it's not even like earning it in greater society. It just happens to be like if you happen to be someone who has the genetics to, easily passes the other sex, people will just kind of, it'll be, I guess, more natural for the greater public to use the correct pronouns for you. That is really the only thing that makes sense to me. This whole thing where you can kind of assess other people and say, well, this person I think is trans for the wrong reasons, or wants me to call them this pronoun for the wrong reasons. I don't really like that, so I'm not gonna respect it. Personally, that's just not, I don't know if I care enough to interview people.
No. Scotch.
To Lynn, how do you function sexually if you say you're a gay male and you go to a gay bar? Do you surprise them once you get them home, or how do you handle it?
Well, I'm not the least bit promiscuous, but I, pardon me, would be more of a receiver, I suppose you would say.
Yeah. Is there a support group or peer support group for you? Because if you came to...
I'm gonna even pause on that for a second as well. And this is one of the guys, icky stuff. So conflicting feelings, right? I'm not the hugest fan of Buck Angel for a lot of reasons. I don't really like his rhetoric. Like, for example, I just watched a video of him today really kind of saying that the bathroom issue has nothing to do, like it only really has to do with trans women and doesn't really have to do with trans men at all. And I think that is very blind perspective, because I think if you keep pushing for bathroom bills, what the natural outflow of that is that you're going to have like male looking ass females in the women's bathroom. Like, I guess, anyway, I could rant about Buck Angel for a really long time. And now he got me lost. Now he got me losing my train of thought. Okay, hold on. It's coming back. Now I have it. Okay. So Leanne, like a lot of other trans men, trans masc individuals, I'm assuming a lot of things here, but this is maybe a general thing. Like, if you're going to be in like the gay community, you're gonna be like a bottom. And things that I've definitely seen on, Reddit pages and stuff for trans men, that they sometimes have difficulties, even emotionally, like topping cis men or whatever, or physically have difficulties. I could really get into a lot of details here about like the anatomy of trans men and their sex and stuff like that, and why that is, it can be more stressful in that situation than in other situations. But yeah, there are unique issues that I would say that, gay trans men have, especially if they would like to be tops, but they don't feel comfortable doing that. Buck Angel, this is the whole thing. Buck Angel has this one, I really wish that I remembered what video it was. It was actually kind of something recent. He was talking, it was an interview. It was an interview he did with some, like this gay man for some type of thing. And he talked about his, like, Buck Angel's, like, porn that he created. And he talked a lot about how regardless of like the position that he's in, he's a dom, like, essentially. He may not be like physically, I guess, doing the penetrating for example, but sometimes it's more about like energy, especially if we're talking about from different types of perspectives. So just want to give people just more openness and expression, if you're interested in kind of exploring that. There are a lot of ways, and for example, that can help individuals if you have dysphoria around your sexuality. Like for example, if you feel like I don't have a dick, so I can't top, like if that's where you're at, maybe exploring some of these other ways of energetically dominating a situation or something like that might be really helpful for you. Obviously talk about it with your partners, even a therapist, sex therapist or something like that, if this is something that you're interested in.
I suppose you would say.
Yeah. Is there a support group or peer support group for you? Because if you came to my school, I know a lot of people would shun you. As a matter of fact,
he said, I am the first in line. I will be the first to shun you, weirdo.
Some of you do speak in high school, do you not?
Yes, I speak nationwide TV and radio and at colleges and medical trade conventions.
There are support groups throughout the country for families as well.
Eve, did you say that your coworker?
I would agree. Just like really quick as an addition, pretty much anywhere that you live in this state, you can just literally Google blank 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 area online trans support group or something. You will likely find something. So obviously, whether or not those support groups are going to be enjoyable or useful to you is a whole nother story. But they exist and seen.
Workers don't know that
I actually told one of them, and she thought it was a practical joke. I had to bring in an old photograph.
How do you think they're going to take it?
Most people I have found are absolutely fascinating. I can dine out on it for a year.
Eve and Joanne. Have you ever had a blood test done to find out whether or not your hormones were, the female hormones were elevated?
I just turned 40 plus, and I had a complete blood work done, and it's totally normal for a male.
Yeah.
There's no evidence of that.
I want to know.
It could be any one of you. There's no medical tests. It can sneak up on you. And you could just become, one of those transes. Watch out. Okay, guys? Watch out.
Know what makes you two think you can play God with your body?
Basically, I think that...
Look at him. He said, got him. Got him, guys. So...
This just goes to prove that what you are. Nothing can change that. That some trick of nature can't make you a man or a woman.
I think it might be a prenatal hormonal imbalance. And
hold on a second. Okay. Once again, I'm like, what are you... Sometimes the stuff you say is just not helpful to the situation exactly at hand. Because number one, if you're saying playing God, I guess is a tough thing to say, and because you're kind of putting, religious overtones into it, but this idea of maybe controlling nature or feeling like you're fucking with nature by transitioning, and I think that Eve makes a really good, I can't go to her frame, but Eve makes a really good point of making it pretty clear, like, yeah, like, I'm not really playing with nature, I'm kind of following along with the path that I feel like nature essentially has for me, just kind of utilizing a more maybe scientific support to get there, kind of a thing.
Sure, can't make you a man or a woman.
I think it might be a prenatal hormonal imbalance, and that's why mothers suffer dramatically when they have children who are transsexual. But there's no proof of that.
I would like to say that basically religion was not at all had no influence on me whatsoever.
Yes.
Thank you.
I want to ask Gwen, if when you had a female identity you were attracted to male, what made you change your sexual identity now if you're still attracted to male?
I just followed nature's course, and it seemed like the more comfortable and reasonable thing to do to live as a man. But my sex preferences haven't changed, oddly enough.
Nick and Eve.
And I think I also appreciate that. Like, it just feels more natural to live life as X, Y, or Z. And, like, it just makes more sense for some people. Like, there's something that kind of clicks about it. And I mentioned the other video, like, when I got getting the confirmation of my legal name change was kind of like this, but like a constant, like, buzzing, just like a silencing of that buzz. And someone said that's kind of like tinnitus, that ringing in your ear, like, but when it like goes away, it's like, oh, well, that's kind of nice, I don't know. I just resonate with that feeling.
Eve, I don't understand how you can be, like, if you were born into a man's body or born into a woman's body, how you know you're, like, the opposite sex.
Yeah.
Well, how do you know? How do you know that you're a man?
Because I was born into a man's body, so I assume I'm a man.
But you assume, okay? Well, my mind does not assume.
I know, but my question was why? What made you kind of think, oh, well, this might
Nobody
be a mistake?
really knows. And one of the things that you're confusing here that has to be straightened out is gender and sex. Gender...
Let's go. You see, this is not some, weird brand new thing that nobody knows about. Or, this idea that gender and sex are kind of two different ideas. I don't think is some type of weird new gender identity woke situation, but
is what the culture says you are. Little boys are taught to be big boys. Little girls put on their mother's high heels. But if you don't feel that way inside, you can't do it. You're bucking nature.
Are you there?
That's the problem.
God forbid, were castrated in an accident, I don't want that should happen to you, or if you woke up tomorrow morning and looked in the mirror and you saw a woman looking back at you, you know within yourself you're a man. That wouldn't change that.
Okay, my question.
And I've asked people this as well, and I've asked even an easier question. Like, imagine if someone kind of like glued a skirt to you and you know, couldn't take it off. Like, you know, theoretically, and like maybe like a magical thing, I guess. A little bit maybe out of reality, but I asked this one guy about it one time, and I wish I maybe you know, recorded that conversation a little bit more, but I asked someone that, and he was like, yeah, that would be uncomfortable. Like, just especially because, you know, a lot of, you know, gender is cultural. And so if we feel like off gender wise, and we are conditioned to not be comfortable if we are not presenting in our gender, it makes sense that we are going to have, like, we're going to experience discomfort if we're doing things that are kind of outside of our perceived or understood gender. I hope that that made sense. I feel like I lost my train of thought a couple times through that sentence, so I hope that you guys followed.
No, was what made you decide to do this? How did you know your
decision at all? It was always something that I knew.
I know,
within
why
myself.
is my
It was something that you have to do if you want to survive in life.
Be back in a moment.
Ooh, I love that so much. Listen to what he says again.
It was always something that I knew.
I know,
within myself.
why is my
It was something that you have to do if you want to survive in life.
Be back in a moment.
Beautiful, dude. Come on. What do you think about that? Really thinking about transitioning, you know, as obviously as a survival tactic. I don't think this is a brand new idea by any means, but I do think that it's powerful to hear that it is a similar narrative to I think what people do say today. They understand that it's not really some type of like an optional thing for people who feel this way, right? They feel that this is what they need to do to survive. And people obviously should be able to have the right to make that decision for themselves.
My question is directed to Joanne. I've laryngitis. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Well, your children may be very well adjusted and comfortable with the fact that you cross-dress. How do their friends feel about it and their friends' parents? Because, well, you can make them comfortable. Society's not always ready.
My children.
So I think that this is fascinating how many times we've been asked about, so what do you think society thinks about this? Does it matter? And obviously, I've heard a lot of people talk about, you know, it's important to have, you know, to manage social cohesion. Like, you know, if somebody says they are, you know, if someone's walking around with a skirt and a dress on, but then they have a beard, like that's confusing to people. And so you shouldn't confuse other people. So just conform in order to make it easier on the rest of the world. People don't have to do that. And for example, like there are women with PCOS who choose not to shave and continue obviously to be she, her, and, you know, continue to live life as women because they are women, you know what I mean? But just because they have facial hair, sometimes they get misgendered or mistreated or whatever. Should they have to shave? Should we condemn them for not shaving because they're being socially naughty? I think not.
Children are well aware of the potential consequences, so their friends don't know.
Joanne, when you go out with your wife, who gets picked up first?
I'm not going to answer
You live
that.
a lot.
Hold on.
Not always ready.
My children are well aware of the potential consequences, so their friends don't know.
Okay. I think that's definitely appropriate. Like if you've had conversations with your kids and and they know what it would mean if like a lot of other people found out, so they just don't talk about it. And it does stink to have to kind of live in this kind of perpetual shame-ish type of, situation. You know, but yeah, what are you gonna do? Especially in this time. I think that she's doing the best she can. Trying to live her best self as often as she can.
Joanne, when you go out with your wife, who gets picked up first?
That's funny.
I'm not going to answer
You look
that.
a lot like a woman. Have you ever completely surprised a man? Like, have you been in a relationship where all of a sudden...
Who's Eve now? To whom are you speaking?
Eve, isn't this Eve right here? Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Has she ever what?
Surprised a man. You look like a woman.
Thank you.
And do you ever tell men afterwards, you know, when does it come out that you used to be a man?
I think you should tell them before you wind up in bed. But basically, I have had sex. I'd like to say I have had sexual relationships with people who had absolutely no
Joanne,
idea.
when you dress like that today, what bathroom would you use, the male or the female?
I'm interested, like, if people in either the chat or just if you're rewatching this, what your thoughts on this are. I've heard pretty extreme opinions on this, that, like, if you are trans and you've, like, you know, transitioned, and you don't tell someone that you've transitioned and you've had sex with them, that's like a coercion type of a thing. I'm not really sure if it's that big of a deal. For example, like, if you've had some type of a sexual surgery or like a genital surgery, like, do you always have to tell like a past or future partner about that? Not sure. I understand like the social implications of that, so maybe that is why people have different opinions, but you know, different thoughts for different people, perhaps.
I would use the ladies' room.
Had absolutely no
Joanne,
idea.
when you dress like that today, what bathroom would you use, the male or the female?
I would use the ladies' room. I'd cause a riot in a men's room.
Joanne,
Look at that. Wow. Shocking. And I would agree. Like, yeah, it'd be like, men would be like, you don't belong in here. And that's kind of another thing with the social, and that's what I'd honestly, one of the things I don't understand about the whole bathroom debacle is like, really, you want someone, sorry, you want someone who dresses like this to go into the men's, but like, I don't get it. Really, I don't get it. And they're not dangerous. Whatever. Whatever.
a lot of people are angry with you.
The reason a lot of people are angry with you, Joanne, is...
It's because you came on and said you were the pervert, and I think we all want to know, what do you mean by that?
It was a joke. I don't think...
It was a joke.
Yeah.
I think that she's playing into the fact that that's what people think about transvestites, is that transvestites are the perverts. I think probably saying it, maybe a defense mechanism, who knows?
I just want to direct this to all of you. I was wondering, when you have a relationship with opposite sex or the same sex or whatever, and you tell them that you cross-dress or you were once the opposite sex or whatever, don't you scare off a lot of people, and how do they deal with it?
I think in my case, it's very, very difficult, even more than doing a nationwide show like this. To say how I'm built is one thing, but I don't feel obligated to divulge how my parents and my pediatrician assigned me in my first 29 years. That's immaterial as far as I'm concerned.
Also, it does narrow down the field quite a bit, but the one...
Okay. Which I feel like makes a lot of sense. Like, especially, I guess, what you would say, like, with their, you know, what is that called? It sounds like they maybe more he perceives himself, sorry, as being, like, incorrect, like, misdiagnosed, kind of, or misgendered, I would say, at birth, almost. Like, this was just the incorrect sex, so now I got my sex corrected and updated correctly, so why would I tell people that my parents got my sex wrong for half of my life? That's
ones who are left over are really worth it.
Yeah.
Yes, to the young lady in the purple and the feathers. How much money do you make?
I'm not a lady. I'm a man.
How much money do you make posing as a young lady?
How many?
Is it a good living?
Usually a performance from $500 to $600.
To even Nick.
Yeah. So get your boa and let's get going.
You could do a great Aretha Franklin.
This question's to even Nick. They say that men have a lot easier than women. Have either of you found it to be so?
You mean basically in the job market, things like that? I have no basis for comparison, really. I had the surgery when I was 21, so I've only been in the job market and living as a woman, so I really...
We've only done females to males in the numbers that we are now recently because the surgery has been improved. It was not good surgery for a long time.
As a matter of fact, there's more requests for...
Male to female because it's easier and cheaper. It costs maybe $12,000.
Is that the reason, or is there a...
No, it's much easier.
So you think
it's one operation.
You think there are as many...
true.
There are as many transsexuals who want to go
female
each
to
way,
male.
different way. Well,
although males are more prized in the society.
Yeah.
Male, female, black.
There's so many things here. I need to watch this like 3 times to psychologically grasp everything that was just said. Follow along with me, friends. I really want to make sure I'm grasping what's being said here.
It was not good surgery for a long time.
As a matter of fact, there's more requests.
Okay. So... Okay, let's start from the beginning of her rant.
In the job market and living as a woman, so I really...
We've only done females to males in the numbers that we are now recently.
We've only done females to males, the numbers that we are recently. Okay. So FTM surgeries have only increased recently in the past 8 years.
Because the surgery has been improved. It was not good surgery for a long time.
As a matter of fact,
so okay, so phalloplasty related type surgeries were not, I guess, up to par for a long time. So now they are. So they're being requested more often.
there's more requests for
male to female because it's easier and cheaper. It costs
Is that
maybe
the reason, or is there?
Yes. So vaginoplasty can be done, to my understanding, in one step. I think that depending maybe on certain type of things like labiaplasty and different types of things like that, you might be going in for multiple steps. I've heard people definitely going in for multiple steps. But yeah, phalloplasty I think is usually 2 to at least 3, something like that, 2 or 3. Especially if you're wanting like a more cis appearing phallus, you're gonna need a couple more surgeries to get there.
No, it's much easier.
So you think
it's one operation?
You think there are as many transsexuals who want to go
female
each
to
way,
male.
different way? Well,
although males are.
And I'm not sure if that has. I think we've like, for example, all this is stuff that you hear kind of through the grapevine and stuff. People hearing that more these days, more female to male people have been kind of showing up. It does make sense to me that it would be kind of an equal amount of people wanting either direction. Maybe that is tracked through surgery requests, and maybe requests for things like hormone replacement therapy. I'm not exactly sure.
Are more prized in the society.
Yeah.
Oh, and the males are more prized in the society part. It's just like, I guess does she just mean that, like, generally, like, with the patriarchy? I guess I'm just not sure what she means.
Male, female,
why she's
black,
smiling.
white. This show has sure helped me to accept people.
well,
where
I
they
do.
are.
Thank you very much for saying that.
Yay.
Hey, you can come back, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Doop. Okay, so this is this lady's Lynn Hubershman. I just want to see her name. Hube Sherman, Gender Identity Clinic in Pennsylvania and Philadelphia, which I just think is very interesting because it's obviously not too far away from me.
Lynn Edward Harris, you remember the hermaphrodite. That is to say, anatomically speaking, evidence of both sexes reside in his body. And he's written a book. He has a manuscript. More than one.
More lives than one.
More lives than one. Here's the honest story of a man who's really seen the world, as we might say. And I guess it's legal for me to tell you, he is looking for a publisher. You better get the plug in here, Mr. Ruby Rims. It's legal to do that. Go ahead.
I'm performing regularly at 88, 228 West 10th Street in the Village. Come and see me.
Very good. We'll bring Grandma with us. Yes.
There you go.
My statements to the whole panel, I want to commend you for your courage of your convictions to be what you want to be.
And that's nice to hear coming from the guy who said, why can you play God?
If Eve or Nick would like to get married at any point or adopt children, or... Is that me? Oh, marriage is certainly an option. I cannot have children, but I could if I wanted to, yeah.
I'd like to ask Eve, Nick, and Lynn, have you had friends who knew you before and after, and how have they reacted to you?
I only lost one friend and one relative, and we weren't that crazy about each other beforehand.
I've lost countless number of relatives and friends over what I presume to be a positive elected choice.
I'm sorry.
And also, I think even, like, for example, like, the idea that, like, Lynn is, like has male parts or whatever, and can't even had a harder time with the family, I think makes it clear, hopefully, that people understand that I don't think it really is about, I don't know if it is really about, always just about sex. Like, I think sometimes it's just about bias, and this is weird, and I'm not used to this, and I'm uncomfortable with this, so I don't want to do it. I feel like that has to be a little bit of a part of it, at least.
Sorry to interrupt, but one can...
I know what Ruby does for a living, but I'd like to know what the other people do for a living.
Oh, I'm a writer, nonfiction.
I'm an engineer. Engineer? Engineer.
All of these people speak very well, and I wish them all the best in their future lives.
Well, thank you. Aren't you nice? Yeah.
Okay, did they not? I don't think they all finished saying their careers, but whatever.
I'm curious if Joanne wears lingerie when she makes love to her wife.
Sometimes I do.
Yes.
Dun dun. And also, like, males out here, men who are males, and even if you don't identify as anything else, or you are gender conforming or something, like, they have like male lingerie, like manly lingerie as well. I don't know. I guess my brain sometimes is just so like, some of the stuff is just so old and so restricted. Ugh, loosen up, guys. Let your wife peg you every now and again. Come on. I feel like that's really what it is that more men need their wives to peg them, essentially.
Yeah.
Joanne, what does your family portrait look like?
Sorry, wives or partners. You know, we're not discriminating against unmarried folk here.
Pardon me? What's your family portrait look like? Yeah.
Joanne, you said at the beginning of the show that you get some sort of erotic pleasure from dressing like that. Could you explain that, please?
That's because when it started for me, I was going through puberty, and it was attached to masturbation. So there was a erotic reinforcement of the cross-dressing. I am not aroused right now.
That's great.
And that's interesting. I wonder if, like, that just kind of stopped. Like, literally, it happened, like, when he was or I don't know. I keep switching pronouns. I don't know if it really matters, but when they were younger. Is that the only reason why she considers it a sexual thing, was because it was at the get-go? And I don't know. That's the one reason, once again, why I just get so, not weirded out about it, just like, it seems interesting that it's always kind of connected to a sexual thing, like, just because you happened to have some kind of, your body had a physiological response. And yeah. Also, I don't know what it's like to be a young boy in puberty, so yeah.
Does medical insurance pay for this?
Does this insurance, is this covered? Is the transsexual surgery covered?
It's not covered by medical assistance. It may be covered by Blue Cross Blue Shield in part.
Yes.
Eve, if I ever met a woman who used to be a man, would I be able to tell?
I would say for sure. Some people's insurance will cover it. They don't do a good job of answering all these questions too detailed or anything, but so the answer is yes and no, depending on where you're at, depending on what type of insurance you have. You can get your surgeries covered or not.
No, you would not.
You would.
And then different types of surgeries as well. Like, for example, someone might consider facial masculinization surgery not necessary, but someone else might consider that it definitely is necessary for, like, for example, if someone believes that, like, passing is a psychological need or something like that, which I'm not sure medically if that is something that happens, but
It's very difficult to tell.
You want in here?
I'd like to ask a question to Nick. I just can't believe you were a full female, and you have that mustache. Is that from hormone treatments?
Yes, yes.
Answer to your question is yes. Are you there, caller?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead.
I had a question for the...
yeah, you grow a lot of things with testosterone. If you know, I'm joking, sorry.
crossdresser.
Yeah.
I'm sure he must realize that this isn't a normal hobby. Does he ever stop and think why he does this? Maybe something in his childhood brought this on?
It's not a hobby. The thought is that it is both prenatally predisposed and environment after I was born.
Yeah. You said you were gay, and that you are not gay, but you...
And I would say, like, for example, that, to me, I think this is why we have kind of really included a lot of the transvestite category into the transgender category, because a lot of it seems very similar. Like, for example, they might not have, like, distress about their sexual organs, perhaps. I guess I just have not heard that she has a desire for surgeries or anything like that. So, for example, like, and this in my head is like the difference between a transgender person and a transsexual person. And for example, if you're a transgender person, you don't have to have sexual arousal or not. You could just be saying that, like, I, feel better. It is more accurate to me to dress this way, to be presented this way in society, X, Y, or Z. But I don't have the desire for surgeries. Awesome. We can give you the legal support that you need and the social support that you need. And if you're someone like Eve, or I forget the other person's name, Nick, they're like, hey, I would like some medical support for my transition. And then they could get the medical support that they need for being transsexual. That, for me, I think is like useful language, helpful. And I would say that that isn't necessarily modern. Like, I don't hear a lot of people utilizing that language. And a lot of people have things against using that language as well. So, I don't know. It kind of goes here and there.
You like other men? Do other men look at you? Like, are attracted to you?
Yes.
Joanne, do you share clothes with
You? Like,
Yes.
You said you were gay and that you are not gay, but you like other men. Do other men look at you? Like, are attracted to you?
And I think that was to Lynn. Because Lynn is the other, I think he's the only gay man. I don't know if Nick was gay. I don't know if he said that he was gay or not. Some of these questions also are annoying. I'm just annoyed by them. Like, are people ever attracted to you? Like, what do you, I'm sure, yeah, they're a person in the world. And like for example, it's like, you look at the drag queen, and she was like, people would look at you and wouldn't think that you're attractive at all. And it's like, how do you know? Like, you just don't know. Stop it.
Yes.
Joanne, do you share clothes with your wife?
Yeah.
I have questions for her.
And honestly, I don't think, and for me, I'm like, oh, here, sorry guys. Sorry, my bad. My bad.
Predisposed and...
Like other men. Do other men look at you? Like, are attracted to you?
Yes.
Joanne, do you share clothes with your wife?
Yeah.
I have questions for her. What did your parents think about this? Your in-laws?
My parents and in-laws don't know.
Until now, the fuck, because you're on, Donahue show. I wouldn't be surprised. That would, hold on. Let me lower my volume just a little bit. Yeah, that's tough, though, to feel so isolated. And you could tell that the transsexual feels a lot more freedom than this person who is, living as a transvestite in this time, and really feels way more restricted, way more like there's a lot more social shame involved. You can't tell people, my kids aren't telling their friends and stuff, but Eve lives full time, It's yeah. So it seems like there is a lot more weight to the social implications, perhaps. I guess there are a lot more accepting people generally these days, so people don't struggle as much. As, someone like Joanne would in this situation, but man, I feel bad. This is really tough. It must not have been easy. Damn.
And we'll be back in a moment.
Okay.
For a transcript of today's show, send $3 to Donahue Transcripts, 267 Broadway, New York, 1007, or call 212-227-READ.
Okay.
Mixing love with laughter. Meet romantic couples from Cheers, Amen, and Coach on the next Donahue from L.A.
Lynn Hubschman of the Gender Identity Clinic in Philadelphia. Tell them about the...
penile implant. It's put into the penis.
Sorry. Let's go. Let's talk about the penile implant. We're just right into it. Jumping right in.
Identity Clinic in Philadelphia. Tell them about the...
penile implant. It's put into the penis, and it can erect. It has saline solution usually.
But it's done mechanically.
It's done mechanically. You never want to be in a crowded elevator.
But...
Yeah. We've heard good things about these.
If you guys want to know more specifics about that, I think you're talking about with like phalloplasty. Usually there's like a pump that's in the testicle. You can like literally like manually squeeze to cause an erection. So yeah, they're functional.
Sex change operations. Have there ever been people who felt that it was a mistake?
Very few that we've...
Services provided and promotional fees paid by the following.
Sugar Twin.
Damn, dude.
The diet sweet.
Come on, there were like two questions left in there that we could have talked about. Damn. Okay. So we're gonna do let's go through the comments. All right, because I think comments are interesting. This helps us see a little bit of what the people, how they view this stuff. Right. Here we go. Probably not gonna look at all of them, but some of them. And if you're here in the chat, say hello. I'd like to say hello. Okay. I'm gonna cut this a little bit shorter. Oopsie. We can just look at the comments. Have it be a little bit better for you all. Hold on, friends. Hold on, friends. All right. Here we go. All right, so we're here at the Donahue comment section. Okay, I think it's Phil Donahue. Yeah. I agree. I don't think we see this type of media anymore. It says we don't see this type of media anymore. They're so intelligent in explaining what we are still saying to this day, which I would say is a lot of the stuff is the same as before. And I think this one's interesting. If you could just, why do we feel so restricted to the idea of like F and M for especially babies who have maybe like unclear genitals or something like that, or we're uncertain of how to designate their sex. I feel like it'd be easier to just allow for the kid to grow up and like to let people know what they feel more comfortable living life as or whatever. I agree with this as well. Donahue helping people to understand certain topics, helping people understand what gender means behind closed doors, which is cool. I agree. A lot has changed about this issue since back then. And I would say most of the questions were respectful. Some of them were, I think, were pretty gross and pretty mean. All right. So this one says, I didn't see any of these when they came out because I was only 10, but I remember the show being listed on the TV guide at the time. But as a transsexual woman who has toyed with my own gender and seeing some of these shows, I wish I'd seen them back at the time. I think I may have experimented a lot of things and maybe had come to terms with being transsexual much sooner. But at age 10, boring adult talk in the news was, oh my god, this person's typing. Whatever. I recall watching a few debate shows in high school, but unfortunately none of them on the topic of gender or transsexual issues or questions. I think it'd be equally beneficial to pupils to be shown more stuff like this. It's educational and at least educates the people between TS, TVs, CDs, and drag queens, etc. So I'm like, I maybe would disagree a little bit. I'm not sure if it's like, if this is super accurate to like how the modern conversation is. Like I said, I think it'd be interesting to have maybe a more modern discussion, an updated version of this today would be really, really interesting to see. They couldn't even do the show today, although woke people today would be so offended at some of the innocent questions. I would probably, I get the vibe that they're trying to say. Even for me, listening to that was pretty uncomfortable for some of the parts of them. Okay, wow, that's all the comments. That was it. Interesting. Okay. Let's see. Okay. So this person says there are only 10K transsexuals and now there's nearly 2 million. What? And this person says, despite the fact you have no statistics to back it up, I'll entertain these statistics. Yes, there are more transgenders in the US and UA now than 1989 for a number of reasons, because like one is because of AIDS being less, so less trans and homosexual people are dying. That's so interesting and like really important. Also, education is another reason. More people being educated means more people understanding their identity and accepting it, and acceptance is a really big reason. And I think that's really, really nice. Like the left-handedness chart thing, I think is helpful. I know a lot of people don't like it. They don't like the idea of maybe connecting the idea of the left-handedness chart to transsexual ideas or whatever, but I think that they're really important. Yeah, this one, very helpful stuff. I would definitely, I wish that we had obviously more conversations like this, and the conversation about, okay, the conversation behind like gender and like specifically how do you say, maybe the more like I don't know, trans discourse is probably the best way to put it. Those types of conversations are very interesting to me. And at the same time, I'm like, are these useful? Are these useful conversations? I don't know. I'm not sure. And then also, guys, there is another Donahue episode. That's about anti-trans violence. So let me know. Maybe if I get one comment that says that you'd be interested in watching this, I'll watch the next. I'll watch this other video here. Maybe let's peep it. This is a clip. I have no idea what this is about.
Now, Silver, you bring your clients home then?
Yes, mostly.
I see. Now, do your clients? I'm going to ask you this again. I'm still not a little confused.
They know that I'm a man.
They do.
Of course, I don't look like a woman.
In other words, you're not. See, here's the thing. Most of us would think that a guy hires a hooker, and all of a sudden he discovers that she's a male. That's going to really, you're going to get, somebody's going to punch you out when they find out. That's
no, any time that I've been beaten, it's not because they didn't know I was a man. It's other things. But if someone comes to me, they're coming to a TS or TV, not television, in terms of, let's say, transsexual. They come to you for that particular reason. Yeah, they don't come, if they want to prostitute, they'll,
And you say most of your clients.
Okay, so, a different topic entirely. Maybe literally listening to some people who are so we have like transsexual people, there are sex workers, definitely to say like violence towards sex workers, the responsibilities of sex workers, the role of homophobia and transphobia in the discourse, and the lack of appropriate gender, sex, and sexual orientation conversation. So yeah, apparently this was, I don't know if they mean that this conversation, but it was an exchange filled with insecurity, fear, and ignorance. And a lot of language in this video is offensive. So let's, like I said, if there's one person who says that we should take a look at this video, I will. And maybe if I just, get interested enough or run out of stuff to talk about. We did also mention things like Paris is Burning or just some other like type of queer culture stuff, and I might continue. Who knows? Like I said, let's see how the interest in this kind of topic goes, and we'll see we'll see how it goes. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Please check out the Discord server in the chat below. We definitely appreciate you hanging out with us here, and come again soon. All right, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the stream. It'd be really great. Helps out the channel and all that stuff. Thanks a lot, everyone.